We were established shortly after Labor Day in response to the devastation caused by Hurricane Irma on St. Martin. The core of the Joint Task Force are two units, the Special Purpose Marine Air Ground Task Force for Southern Command and Joint Task Force Bravo. Both units are based out of Soto Cano Air Base in Honduras. The remaining members of the Joint Task Force joined us from Southern Command headquarters, Southern Command's various components, and other portions of the Joint Force. You know, we put out a joint manning document asking for folks with particular capabilities. I can say that whether folks volunteered or found out on short notice that they had to come, everybody performed superbly. I think in this case, whether they were volunteers initially, they became volunteers when they realized just how important this mission was. The devastation on both islands was immense. Every bit of vegetation was stripped off both islands. Buildings were destroyed. On St. Martin, which is flatter and had more recreational boats, both sailboats and motorboats were lifted out of the water and dumped onto land. Communications broke down, the airports were shut down, people's homes were destroyed, power came down, water was unavailable. I think they're very basic concerns. Food, water, shelter, protection from the elements. I think just the very, very basics that people need to survive. Those aren't different from the concerns of anybody else that finds themselves in a disastrous situation. I think once those conditions are met, their concerns are how to rebuild their island. The rebuilding will be significant and require a lot of help. Working with our USAID OCTA partners, we're providing those unique Department of Defense capabilities that otherwise no one else has. We've transported a lot of humanitarian supplies, food, cooking equipment, shelter, equipment to restore plumbing. We've moved professionals who can provide those humanitarian supplies to the affected population. We've also moved security forces around. In addition, we've used our various capabilities to overfly the island and provide information to various international, national, and non-governmental organizations so that they can better plan and focus the aid that they provide to the people of Dominica. You know, that's a tough one to answer. We've faced a series of difficulties from deploying from Central America 1,800 miles to the vicinity of St. Martin to better integrating with our French and Dutch allies to make sure that while we were supporting their population, we were mindful that these were proud and developed nations and keeping their authorities, both military and civilian, first. We then faced Hurricane Maria. We weathered Hurricane Maria on Puerto Rico. After the hurricane, we had to move several hundred miles further south in order to provide support to Dominica. Dominica, we faced a series of challenges to include the fact that all of the infrastructure that I think the Dominican government had planned to use to respond to the disaster had been catastrophically damaged. Now that our efforts are coming to a close, we face what perhaps is the most difficult part, accounting for all of our people and our equipment, making sure we maintain that accountability, and safely and deliberately getting every single service member and every piece of government equipment back to the place that it came from. I think the humanitarian situation in Dominica has exited the emergency phase and entered the reconstruction phase. This means long-term rebuilding of roads, redevelopment of infrastructure, helping people recover fully, move on with their lives after a terrible devastation. That's the long-term effort, and that effort belongs rightfully to the broader humanitarian infrastructure, international, governmental, and non-governmental. The portion with which military forces can help is drawing to a close. It's time for the humanitarian professionals to step in and do what they do so well. The last date that we anticipate receiving tasking from our USAID OFTA partners is the 5th of October. After that, since our help will no longer be required, we'll remove all of our forces from Dominica and position them on Guadeloupe and Martinique. We'll very, very deliberately make sure that everybody is well organized and prepared for returning to their home stations, and then, in an orderly and focused manner, get everybody home. I think the last member of this task force should be gone by the 3rd week of October. Our primary partner when we conduct humanitarian assistance on foreign shores is USAID OFTA. They are very, very knowledgeable about these situations. We've seen a myriad of other aid organizations, both on St. Martin and in Dominica. Importantly, on St. Martin, we worked with our allies, the French and the Dutch militaries, through the governments of France and Holland, and with local authorities. On Dominica, we worked with Dominican government authorities and the broad range of humanitarian organizations, the United Nations, the World Food Program, the National Red Cross of Dominica, and many, many others. In each case, on both sides of St. Martin, the French and the Dutch side of St. Martin, and as well on Dominica, the humanitarian enterprise established an emergency operations center. In that center, the humanitarian organizations would meet, understand the need, determine whose skill set was best postured to meet that need, and then move forward with helping people. Our representative in the Emergency Operations Center, again, were our partners at USAID OFTA. I think they did a very good job of determining where specifically the Joint Task Force could help and getting our capabilities oriented on that problem.